What is up, guys? Tonight, I bring the video that I never thought I would make. And that is that today I was navigating the wonderful world of Twitter, where everything happens, anything goes, you meet all kinds of people from all walks of society just coming together, interacting, sharing their thoughts. And of course, just like with every social network, there is all kinds of content going on. And I guess it depends on who you follow and what kind of topics they are involved in or what they post to. Anything goes. Somehow, in my feed, I ended up with some kind of a profile that possessed pornographic material. And then I said, you know what? I have never been involved with this matter. I was never that teenager who was really curious about it. I was really never someone who voluntarily looked for this type of content. But I do remember that this is something that was brought up a lot in my social circle when I was in school. And of course, I have an imagination. I can pretty much tell what it is that my classmates were discussing, but it's not really something that drew my attention, probably because I was just scared shitless of possibly explaining to my mom what the hell I'm up to, and let alone it's none of my business, and to me, it's just overall embarrassing. And then today I decided that this account that turned up on my feed, I decided to follow it just for a couple of hours just to see what my reaction would be like to return to Twitter and know that this account that has adult material is going to be posting. And of course, while I was at it, I decided to open the profile and visit the content and be like, let me see what is it about porn that really draws people. Is it that you get visually stimulated? Is it that you are observing other people get involved in the act because you yourself are deprived? Is it that it teaches you about how to screw somebody? Is it that this is really the portrayal of what happens behind locked doors? Or maybe after you're under the influence and you decide to get locked in a car and just do crap, you know, I decided to just explore it a little bit, and then I said, let me see what kind of thoughts would come to my mind while I do this. And of course, I'm going to try to break it down from the beginning, and which I just did. But anyways, I'll just dive into details about how this experience made me feel. It's not like this is my first time ever visiting sites like this. I'm just saying that this is my first time actively exploring one. My exposure to this type of thing had always been incidental. And only was it, let me see, one time I had an involvement in which I actually sought this content out to send to a partner, and I was like, hey, how do you think this would be like? What do you think this experience would be like? And that was a pretty nice exchange, but honestly, it's not something that I explored enough to be like, feel some type of way about it. So, earlier today, when I discovered, I guess we could call it, this profile, while I was exploring it, I was particularly uncomfortable, not because it is something that I am like tabooish about. It's just that for me, the act itself, it's something that is particularly sacred from my perception, and I like to respect it. And also, as someone who is like sexually inactive and also deprived, it's kind of odd for me to be exploring it from the point of view of an entertainment industry. Because anytime you get exposed to, I guess, mainstream porn, let's call it that, you know that this is something that actors are coming together and they are spending God knows how many hours getting this put together, getting this staged, getting this rehearsed, fabricated, filmed, whatever it is. You have the perfect lighting, you have the fancy looking home, you have the weird poses, and God knows how many people are present in the room when you are engaging in one of the most or the most intimate act that humans can get involved in. So while I had that in the back of my mind, it was difficult for me to be like, oh, yeah, this is absolutely what goes on behind locked doors in the bedroom, because I know that the expectations that you have in the porn industry, that's not really the stuff that I imagine happens in real life. And I hope to God that that's not what happens in real life, because to me, some of it looks like you're trying too hard to act like you're being pleased, but at the same time, the body can take roughness, but it doesn't mean that you can constantly enjoy such a thing. Like, for me personally, I would not enjoy to be treated physically the way that these people who I was watching on the screen were being treated. That would be an immediate breakup, because I do not need to be engaging in the activity like that. I deserve respect. But once again, once I reminded myself that this is all being acted out, it stopped bothering me. Like, it stopped feeling like I was watching people on the screen legitimately get raped. You know what I mean? To me, a lot of these scenes looked like people were just raping each other. But of course, again, I'm not someone who possesses experience in this department. Maybe that is how things go down behind locked doors. Maybe if you're someone who's crazy and you're all about the act, then maybe you will act like an animal, because after all, humans are animals, and when you're acting on instinct, you're not necessarily the most respectful person in the world. But I'm just saying that for me personally, I feel like I would not enjoy intimacy that is that crazy, that wild, that rough. Because once again, to me, this act is particularly sacred. So I would want for it to feel like that, not like this is someone who's acting very high on hormones and they just gotta act like a beast. No. Um, Additionally, this happened some 5 6 hours ago that I decided to like follow this account, and something that I was hoping would happen happened, which was hours later. I checked my Twitter again and I forgot that I was actively following this account. And then I happened to see that they had posted like a new video or something, new content. And then I saw that on my feed and I was like, the fuck? That particularly bothered me. I don't want to say disturbed me, because again, I am an adult. I don't have issues coming across this type of content that would be deemed inappropriate. But it did bother me to scroll through my feed and find this content because I wasn't anticipating it. So it shocked me a bit. I'm like, oh wow, there is porn actively coming up on my feed. But when I thought about it, I'm like, oh, right, I am conducting an experiment for me to have material to stream about, so that I can officially say that this is the official porn topic. And any of you guys who may feel inclined to like post references like that, feel free to do so in this topic, because I personally navigate through other channels comment sections, and the amount of sexual references that are present in a lot of other channels is crazy to me. But at the same time, you cannot live your life sheltered forever, you know? So, this is what I wanted. I feel like I avoided this type of thing for so long. And then I said, now that I am hitting a certain age, how would it feel like? Because again, when I was a teen, I used to feel so nervous and scared and disturbed anytime I would hear about this type of thing being discussed. And then on occasion, I did stumble upon stuff on the computer, especially since this was a shared computer when I was younger. And my mother always told us that she wouldn't have an issue if she stumbled upon things like that. She just wanted us to be prepared, especially if we are considering becoming active in that department. She was like, just remember that there are consequences, especially the consequence of becoming a parent, and that is not something that I consider you should be messing with when you don't have a plan. Like, what she meant back then must have been something like finances, your health, etc. And then she said, whatever happens, you're going to be solely responsible. I think the fear of ruining my life and also putting myself at a disadvantage for the rest of my life and having to work extra harder than I naturally have to, I think that fear is what kept me protected pretty much from wanting to engage in such a thing. But sometimes when I did stumble upon this type of topic and exploring it now at an older age, sometimes I'm like, oh, yeah, that's definitely the life that I want. I would like for a guy to constantly chase me around the house with like an erection, right? But realistically speaking, not everyone is going to be in the mood, and I guess it can be a beautiful thing if you find a partner that you can be compatible with in that department. But at the same time, I would like to have a partner who understands why I do not cross certain lines. And I also think that waiting for the right time, even as old as I'm getting, is still the best way to go, because when you do get around to the act, I feel like what I have been postponing it for is going to have a whole lot more meaning. And I would rather wait for that and enjoy the innocence of the act rather than, okay, I have all this vast experience, but it's experience that's nothing but regrettable people. And sometimes I see people online expressing that they have vast experiences when it comes to partners. And I'm thinking, good for you. But at the same time, I try to think of myself being that person. Like, sure, I will be involved with you and you and you. I keep thinking about my exes and how I would probably feel presently had I been involved with them like that. And I'm like, no, thank God that I did not emotionally attach myself, well, physically attach myself to this person and throw my emotions into it, because the way that some of these stories concluded, I don't need to be revisiting that. And as nice as it is for some folks, like the way some people phrase it, that it is to have multiple partners, again, from a spiritual and religious point of view, I don't think I can be cool with that, because I would like to be able to look at my partner in the future and be like, hey man, I was able to make a sacrifice and wait for you so that we can explore this together, build up on it together. Whereas you are going to be my partner and you have an experience of like 700 people before me. You do not need to be parenting my kids, and you do not need to be inserting your membrane into my cavity, because, or any other spots in my body, because no, that just makes me uncomfortable. But then again, I know that realistically speaking, the older that you get, the less likely you are to find someone who's still like, I guess, pure in that department. But for me personally, again, this is something that's very important for me. It really matters for me. And nothing would make it more special than to share that moment with someone who can be on the same page as me and explore it with me. Just like I do not want to be involved with a man who already has kids, because now I have to share you with another woman and another family for the rest of my life. And the kids that we do have together do not deserve to be wondering, which family am I going to spend Christmas with? Little things like that. Not that you guys know me, I'm not someone who's into celebrations and stuff, but since I know that that may be an important thing in my partner's life, that is an issue that I want to spare myself from. So when I watch this type of thing, like, after my experience today visiting an indecent profile, all of those thoughts came to mind again, and I cannot help but be grateful for the way that I am conducting my life, because I feel like I have absolutely nothing to regret. Maybe the one thing that I may regret is once I do solidify a relationship that has that stuff going on in it, I might be like, shoot, I would have enjoyed to have this way sooner. Like, say, in my late teens, early 20s, whatever. But at the same time, I'm thinking, no, because back then, had I been involved in this, you guys know that I do not drug myself. I am never going to allow myself to be drugged in any kind of way. Um, if I would have been engaging in that act, I would have needed to be um to accept the consequences that may be associated with such a thing. And let me tell you, my late teens and my early 20s were not the greatest times for me to possibly risk a product, a result, out of having relationships like that. And yeah, you can tell me to have the guy wear the rubber all that it wants, but the risk and the possibility is still there. And nothing beats the peace of I can go to bed every night knowing that I am not destroying my body, drugging myself, and that I am not taking a massive risk. So I know that's kind of random and I'm kind of going off course with the original topic, but honestly, watching porn really did not have much of an effect on me. It did make me wonder though about certain sensations. I'm like, ooh, I could so go for a guy, messing with my body after I have a terrible day at work to sort of help me rid my body and cleanse my body of all the demons I have to deal with and put me in an excellent, amazing, great mood. But at the same time, I'm thinking there are so many other things that I can do that sort of give me the same sense of relief. And I just don't feel like I need to be sexually involved to achieve such a thing. Like, again, I'm not going to deny that sometimes I do have the desire. Like, it's not a lack of desire, it's a combination of me dating a zombie, but also me just not being prepared for it, especially if I'm going to be with a partner who's not going to be into it quite like I am. So maybe one day we can get on the same page about that, or maybe I will meet someone who will be perfectly compatible with me. But until that happens, I do not want to live myself tormenting myself about the stuff that I feel I might be missing out on and that I'm going to regret in the future. I would rather be like, you know what? Maybe this is not meant for me to have it. And the sooner that I accept to be without it, the better. Because there used to be a time in which I used to resent very, very, very severely that that was not something that I had in my life. But then I told myself, I gotta remember the reasons why I stay away from that and the consequences associated with it. And I think that the energy that I have now, I am rechanneling it and possibly improving my life to the point that maybe one day I don't have to worry about, say, making ends meet, which is what keeps most people stressed out these days, killing themselves, slaving away, working crazy hours, and then not even being physically fit to take care of your partner. Because let me tell you, there's a lot of zombies walking in this planet that it's people who are constantly tired, constantly physically beat down, and you cannot even take care of your partner in one of the most basic ways. I think that you need to seriously reevaluate your life. But if you are fine feeling toe up physically, then all right. But I'm just saying that I don't want to end up being that person. If I cannot do something as basic as like sexually satisfying a man, maybe I do deserve to be that person who grows old and is lonely, unmarried, and childless. You know what I mean? But That's just me being harsh and critical. It doesn't mean that my perception of it is how everybody needs to be. This is not the rule of life at all. I'm just saying that that's the metric that I like to use. If I ever reach a point where I cannot even satisfy my partner, then there is some stuff that needs some serious reconsidering, because this is not something that should be difficult. And a long time ago, as a victim of a very emotionally abusive relationship, I used to not accept that. I used to think that there was something wrong with me because the guy truly manipulated me and convincing me into believing that there was something wrong with me. And I'm like, no, you're the crazy motherfucker. You're the one who needs help. You're the one who got issues, not me. And that now that I am at a point where I am confident in how I am, I just cannot allow influences, whether external, internal, direct, indirect, familial, or from work, any kind of influence. I cannot get it. I cannot let it get to me now that I know for a fact that I understand what is the stuff in life that works for me and what doesn't. That is what makes me a Zam who is different in 2020 versus the one who probably started vlogging back in 2016. 2016 me did not decide and think for herself. I was allowing myself to be influenced a lot by the figures who I thought were authority figures that couldn't say anything wrong. And I'm like, no, you motherfuckers are crazy for trying to manipulate me and inculcating your values on me when clearly they don't work. So now that I have taken this step and explored something that I have always been pretty reserved on, I realized that there is so much that I hadn't really considered, some stuff that I hadn't really thought about, and maybe my little porn exploration today just needed to happen to get my gears grinding in that department, because some of this I have mentioned before on other topics, but I haven't really dove into it quite to the extent that I just did. And I feel pretty proud about it, pretty happy that I'm having this conversation, because years ago, this is not a discussion that we would have been having. Like, no matter how old you were and how old I was not confident enough with myself to feel comfortable having this type of discussion. So if you guys were wondering where all of this came from and why I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, is because this is not really something that I had shared with anybody before, quite to this extent. And I'm just really happy that I'm choosing a little bit more of a public platform where anybody has the potential of stumbling upon the contents of this stream. And I'm just putting it out there, and maybe someone who's out there struggling with their opinions, feelings, thoughts, especially in the intimate department. Hopefully, this helps you feel better about yourself, because again, I used to be the person who had absolutely zero confidence, and little did I know the people who were supposed to be loving me and taking care of me were actually the people who were mentally killing me. And now that I'm able to like accept that, it's amazing. I feel like I have so much more control of my life, and that to me is real freedom. I used to not think about this at all back in the day, as much thinking as you guys know that I perform. So, anyways, you guys, that concludes it for me. I'm going to catch up with the comments now, but just know that this was quite an interesting experience. It's amazing how, when you expose yourself to something that goes out of your comfort zone and you break from habits, there is so much to explore. And I must say that I have the privilege of sharing it with you guys, because I cannot imagine doing this any other way. Maybe if I didn't have anybody to share this with, I wouldn't have been as inclined to try this. Anyway, JP says, good evening to you. Jordan says, hi Zamri, happy Sunday to you. Philip says, I would definitely dominate you, but respect you and be gentle. That is bizarre. I cannot say that I can have an opinion on how I would be involved intimately with a stranger, But for me personally, I have the toughest time being submissive. So I highly doubt that I would allow a partner to be the dominant one, at least not for extensive periods of time. If it's someone who I'm definitely madly in love with, then definitely I can see myself ceding the territory a little bit, and maybe I would be like, oh yeah, please take all over me, right? Conquer me. But again, because I haven't had anybody awaken that in me, anybody who I have physically experienced such an immense attraction for, then I guess I just will not know what it's like to want to be on the submissive side. But I have faith that there is nothing that giving time doesn't resolve. But for right now, with my kind of mindset and the station in my life that I am in, I am the absolute leader. There is no submission on my end. But overall, all I want is to be with someone who's respectful and not someone who is a beast, or especially someone who is trying to recreate what they have watched in porn. Because if that's going to be the way that you conduct your relationship, the sexual aspect of it, we do not need to be together. Don't waste my fucking time. Just tell me straight up that that's how you're going to be so that I can go in the other direction. And you better be good about letting me go. Because if you're going to turn into a damn stalker, then you got other problems, and we need to do something with you before you start hurting people. So just don't be that person. Respect your partner. If your partner says be gentle and you don't feel like imitating some things that you have seen, then respect them. And if it really bothers you that much, just end the relationship, because no one deserves to be pressured like that, like, oh yeah, this is what you have to do, because if you truly love me, then this is what you do for me. That's what kids do. They try to be manipulative. Don't be a child about this. But then again, that is just my personal opinion. I have not been in a sexually active relationship, so I wouldn't really know what that's like. But I'm just saying that to me, it would really bother me for someone to be trying to objectify me in such a manner. I'm not going to be a boring girlfriend, but just remember that everything is a process, and some stuff I'm just ain't there for yet, and that's okay. But if you cannot handle my pacing, then we do not need to be together. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not like I will never be there and I will never try to get with you and like, go out of my way to please you here and there. But if that is your expectation, like constantly, then this ain't gonna work, because I am a free spirited being, and I just cannot stand it when someone tries to manipulate me in any way. Maybe this is because once again, I let this happen for so long. I had a piece of shit in my life who always made me feel like I was like worthless. And now I refuse to let anybody make me feel that way again, regardless of what the matter is. Let it be a sexual thing, a playful thing, teasing, sharing something, buying something, decisions at the house, like making decisions pertaining to the house. Like, no, no, nobody will ever make me feel inferior to them again. Ever. So, anyways, hopefully you guys see where I'm coming from with this, because I know I've never been open about this. But I don't want to make it sound like I'm that girlfriend who just absolutely cannot give you your place, right? Definitely, there are times in which I will pretty much forget about taking care of myself just in the name of pleasing you. But I'm just saying that at some point, there is some stuff that's just not negotiable, and this may be one of them. You would need to be on a whole nother level of like impressive in order for me to consider such a thing. So maybe one day I will find that person. I will have that kind of relationship, and you guys will be among the first people to know. Hey guys, so this is my experience in my current relationship. I'm not going to get into details, but I'm just saying that I have changed my mind when it comes to A, B, C, and D. But until that happens, this is the way things are. I'm the one running my show. So, so yeah, just be prepared for that. Porn kills love. From what I observed, I would say so, only because, once again, a lot of the content that you see in porn is scripted, and even the amateur videos, those seem like people who are trying to experiment and maybe have some kind of a shock factor. But I'm not very well informed to have an opinion on that. It's not like the people filming this stuff are actively saying, yeah, let's do this for views, you know? You just never know what people's intentions are when it comes to that type of content if you're an amateur um porn filmmaker, I guess. But from what I was able to perceive, that's what I think. It could also be more of a, let's have a memory of this moment. Let's just film it for us to revisit. Maybe they are in a long distance relationship and this is a memory that they're trying to cling to. But at the same time, I guess material like that is very easy to have it stolen and redistributed. And maybe some of these amateur flicks just ended up getting sold, or maybe someone created this to make money, because hey, let's face it, this is a business. You could make money of producing this type of thing and distributing it, right? So maybe the amateur videos that look like, what the hell are these kids doing, maybe these are people looking for money. But at the same time, for me personally, you better believe that I am never going to make a business out of my intimacy. So no, I cannot imagine me allowing for the act to be recorded. And if I ever find out that I am being recorded during the act, it doesn't matter how much I love you, I will sue the absolute shit out of you for like invading my privacy, I guess, which is weird because you're already involved with someone doing the act, but you cannot film someone without letting them know that they're being filmed. Like, something about you need to consent or the other person needs to be aware that they're being recorded. I'm not sure if that's really how things still work, but I'm just saying, if I were to find out that my intimate business is out there, I will do something. And whatever it is, it's going to financially hurt some people. But at the same time, I'm not thinking that there is a way, or I cannot fathom a way in which you can possibly financially repair such a damage, you know? It's not like my discomfort can be fixed with a price, you know? So just don't be that person. Do not secretly record somebody, and especially not be careful handling that data, you know? Listening to you and your thoughts on various topics like this one, it gives me hope that the world still have humans with pure and perfect hearts. Thanks a lot. Keep it up. Well, I appreciate that. I am so glad that you are enjoying this discussion because, once again, I guess I'm making it look easy, but you guys, I guess maybe this is my fault for not exploring this very much, but you guys do not understand what this means to me. Like, what it's like for me to be discussing something like this. And I know that in the past I kind of brush over it and I stay really at the surface, but this is particularly important for me because this is convincing me more and more about how much I have been growing, and that just because I do not engage in certain acts doesn't mean I'm unwilling to have this discussion. Had this been going on 4 years ago, this is not a discussion that I would have been completely open about. But at the same time, I ask myself, why not? Why is it something that should be off limits? And again, as someone who struggled so much with like my intimacy and my personal life like this feels pretty liberating. I guess I understand what some public figures claim when they say that they feel this freedom from just coming clean about something. It's not like I had anything to explain. It's just, again, something incidental. I was navigating a social network, I stumbled upon some adult content, and I said, hell, why not? Let's explore it. Let's follow it. Because I've never been immersed into any of this. And then I said, you know what? Holy fuck, I have grown. But at the same time, um, some stuff about me has not changed. And I guess at this point, if it hasn't really changed just because I hold on to those values, whether it be for religious reasons, but I don't like to call something religious reasons because it's not like I affiliate myself with any religion that's pre established. I like to call it more spiritual reasons because I feel like using the word spiritual is more versatile, but at the same time I wouldn't want to be disrespectful about anything that's pre-established, you know? But honestly, I just have never practiced a religion, so I wouldn't want to be like, yeah, these are my Christian values, these are my Buddhist values, or what else is out there? Catholic values, because I honestly do not know about any of those things. But like extensively. But yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you want to have these open discussions? And you never know what some people are struggling with out there. And it concerns me that there are so many people who express to be dissatisfied with their private lives and their relationships. Shit, I'll be the first one to say that I have yet to have a relationship that satisfies me. I have been miserable in every single one of them. But I take responsibility for the aspects of it that are miserable that I don't do anything about to improve it. But also, I tell myself, I gotta keep it real. It is going to be incredibly difficult to find a partner that you can match with and everything. So, I guess in a sense, what I have focused on doing is focusing on the good stuff that this person has beyond what my selfish individual desires may be. Because let's face it, when it comes to relationships, there can be a lot of selfish elements to it. And I used to be someone who I used to think that the perfect relationship will be the one in which the guy is constantly all up over me. And now I have discovered that guys who are clingy are actually not as attractive as I used to think they were. And the reason I guess I used to like the idea of a guy who is clingy being clingy to me was because I had a ton of insecurities. But now that I am not insecure about my stuff, my personality, myself, my privacy, my intimacy, whatever you call it, now I expect that from my partner. And if they are insecure about something themselves, I want to help them, but I'm not sure how to go about helping them because at the end of the day, that is something that you individually have to work with. I cannot really train you or coach you on how to be less insecure. You have to determine that by yourself. But the toughest part would be for you to accept that you may have your insecurities and that's what makes you clingy. But at the same time, someone who's clingy can be their own kind of beautiful because it's like this person is making themselves vulnerable to you. It's like, yeah, I cling to you because I trust you that much, or I'm I'm making myself vulnerable to you by clinging. And I'm thinking, wow, if someone has the guts to cling like that, it's because they're not afraid of you doing with them whatever you want. You know, like for me, in my experiences being clingy, I was giving my all to the guys. And of course, the guys happened to be assholes who did not know how to maintain me, but I was also a bitch to them. So I feel like I deserved every single tear that I shed, every single painful moment that I experienced in a relationship because I kind of asked for it. And at the same time, the guys also deserved every single fiber of hell that I sent their way because this is not a competition about who can destroy whom more emotionally. But had it not been for those experiences, I would not be the person who I am today. Unfortunately, some of these had to have tragic turns, like, say, you were the victim of emotional abuse from my part, but I was also your victim of emotional abuse. So, what can I say? I was on the giving end of misery, but also on the receiving end. And if I had not gone through those experiences, I wouldn't be able to handle a relationship in the present like I can. And honestly, all I can say is I feel like I am prepared now to be on a more serious one that's like centralized, determined about sharing, stuff like that. The relationships that I have been more recreational. It's all about let's go out and do things. Let's get food. Let's go to the movies. Let's talk about our dreams. Let's share personal information. But there's never been any active working together toward the future. There's never been me living with a boyfriend, us sharing finances. No one has taken me seriously. So, because no one has taken me seriously, I haven't tried to take anybody seriously. Because let me tell you, the times that I have tried to take that extra step with a guy have been the most miserable times in my life. I'm thinking, motherfucker, this is a topic that should be bringing us closer together. This is a topic that everyone in a relationship should be looking forward to. What does the future hold? When do we live together? When do we make decisions together? When do we build things together? Let's build a business together. Let's build a family together. Let's put our finances together. If you ain't having that kind of conversation with me when I become triumphant and move on to live a better life, you do not have a single business in it because you were not there for me in my building stage, nor were you contributing. Why would I let you enjoy the fucking fruit of my labor? No, fuck you. You know? So, Zam from 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, she used to not think that way. And now that I am confident about saying it and I don't start to break down, because let me tell you, I used to cry like a little bitch. I used to bawl my eyes out whenever I would have this kind of keep it real discussion, because I was like one of those hopeless romantic girls. And I got sick of it. I got sick of going to bed miserable, like crying myself to sleep, showing up to work all depressed and miserable, having no control of my life or my emotions. And now it just changed. One day I woke up and I said, I am tired of being a carpet. I am a mountain. I'm supposed to be at the top, not at the bottom, getting stepped on. That's what happened. That's the difference between me presently versus me from years ago. I used to have zero respect for myself. And now that I'm telling you guys some of this stuff, it may sound like I'm really full of myself. I really hope you don't think that. It's more of this is a girl who got tired, and now I will never let anyone treat me like that. And I find refuge in the fact that there's two people in my life who know the details of what truly happened years ago, like from start to finish. And poor people, they were trying to help me and save me from my situation so bad. Like they kept telling me, I'll never forget this person. This person in 2000, like earlier 2014ish, 13ish, something like that. They kept saying, um failure would be to spend the rest of your life with someone who simply isn't right for you. And I knew it. I knew it in my heart. I knew it in my core. But I was so trapped in my relationship that I just could not make sense of what I was being told. I understood what it meant. It was clear. It was straight to the point. I knew it was for my safety, but I wasn't doing anything about it because I had zero respect for myself. When you have zero respect for yourself, you allow for so many shitty things to happen to you. But then, hopefully, like it happened with me, your determination, self-respect, your ambition kicks in, and you never ever tolerate that again. And that's what I'm saying. If anyone is out there and you're feeling like you're in a spot in which you're just trapped, just know that it doesn't end there, and focus on your goals. And no matter who is in the picture or who isn't, work for them. Because for me, one of my main motivations is the fact that my daddy was never in my picture, in any of my pictures. So, like, that is a great sense of motivation for me. I was able to survive that. My very first relationship with a man was an absolute failure. So, why would I allow for my future ones with strangers that I am trying to establish a special bond with? Why would I let that be the one that fucks me over and like burns me to the ground? You know, it just does not make any sense to me, and it's so stupid that if I were to fail like that, I feel like I would deserve every single fiber and ounce of misery that comes my way from that. You know, so maybe my daddy issues are what toughened me up without me knowing it, but at the same time, I don't want to use that as my excuse for the rest of my life. Like, well, there's no way that I can have a successful marriage because I never had a daddy. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's good in a sense that I had that initial failed relationship because now I have had to learn the basics about basic human decency in relationships the tough way. But you better believe that when you learn it this way, you never forget and you learn it the proper way because this is the rough way. Ain't nobody there protecting you, ain't nobody there loving you and caring for you. You're completely by yourself. Makes it even scarier. But once you learn how to navigate that independently, there is so much freedom associated with that. I'm not saying that girls who grow up in homes that have father figures cannot become leaders like this or like fend for themselves. Not at all. I'm just saying that something about learning something that is so important and you don't have like a safety net, it makes it extra meaningful because these girls at least they have a safety net of some sort, whereas I have nothing. So as someone who had little faith in herself, being at this stage and knowing that I achieved this by myself, it's like another level of awesome, you know? And again, I don't want to sound like I'm full of myself, but this is important for me to admit because, again, this is coming from someone who had zero faith in herself. So to me, this is a big deal. And I just thought that I would put this out there because, especially in my comment section in more recent times, I am meeting people who are going through the stuff that I was going through at some point, and I'm like, I am so sorry that this is happening to you. No human deserves this. So I cannot claim to be able to save everybody, but at least I found that some of the stuff that helped me was other people sharing their experiences. So I'm thinking, hey, maybe I'll be the one to share my experience who helps someone. Anyway, let me catch up with the comments. I am becoming very fond of the sound of my voice while I preach this. Nah, just kidding. Um, where am I at? At least before arthritis sets in. Tell me about it. I have always thought about when you age how your feels your perception of things is going to be altered severely because your body is just breaking down and you're in constant pain. Like, especially if you mess up your back. I cannot imagine a life in which I cannot bend down to do basic things. Like, some people I work with, they're like, I need your young back. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I broke it when I was in my 30s. And I'm like, everyone has back issues by the time they're in their 30s. Because my father also had his issues when he was like 34. He did something and then he messed up his back apparently permanently. Zamri, I feel you about that dating someone with kids, dealing with baby mommy and baby daddy. Nothing against the kids, they just want to still be loved with their ex-wife, ex-husband, boyfriends, or girlfriends. Yeah, I just think that that breeds a whole set of problems And as someone who's looking to live life peacefully, I cannot imagine a life in which me sharing my man with another woman because kids are there. I can possibly consider competing against another woman, although I'm never going to. But when it comes to a child, I cannot fight against a child. Like, let's say, oh, you're a child. Your daddy needs to give you attention. But guess what? I'm your daddy's woman, so your woman, as his woman, he needs to give me attention. I just don't think that it's fair for me to do that to a child. Like, I have no hope of combating when it comes to that. And I'm also not the kind of woman who's going to fight for a man's attention because this man is probably like diverting his attention to another woman. The moment that I feel that you're not dedicating enough of your time to me because you would rather give it to others, that is the moment that I am walking out that door and never fucking coming back. I just don't have the time for you. But when it comes to a child, it's different. And I do not want to be in that situation because I don't deserve that. But if I were the person with the kids and I want to date someone, and then the person I'm dating is giving me the treatment that I would give them, hey, I deserve it. I gotta respect you. You don't have to put up with my drama. But I also hope to be the kind of parent who, like my mother, she was a single mom, but nobody ever can say that we gave them issues, that we got in the way of their relationship. We were kids who were well disciplined to the point that we were not emotionally messed up just because our father was absent. My brother probably processed some stuff different from me, given that he is like 6 years older than me. But for me, I asked this to mom the other day just to confirm it, and I was like, "Ma, can you sincerely look at me in the eye and tell me that if you never reconstructed your life in a relationship, we are not the reason?" And she said, "No, not at all. It's just that my values were constantly clashing with the men's values, and you are at no fault." And that made me feel a whole lot better because there were times in which I felt like I was keeping my mother from progressing, say in her career, in relationships, and whatnot. But she says she does not have any regrets, and I believe her because she lives her life pretty peacefully. That is the kind of life that I want to have. I can look back and be like, I regret nothing. But I do not want to be in that situation where I have to share a guy with another woman for the rest of my life, especially when I'm young. Now, if I have my kids and he has his kids and we're starting to go out, I think that's even more catastrophic because we have our individual dramas to deal with. But you cannot reproach me in the same manner that I cannot reproach you. I think it balances the issue out a little bit, but again, presently I am someone who's taking care of herself so much to not be in that situation, only for me to screw it up in the end for myself. I'm not saying that the guy who I have my first child with is not going to give me problems. Like, that's going to be the man who I marry and stay married to for like 60 years. I can be the next failure story. I'll be the next person lining up in court getting a divorce, I guess, or something. Anything can happen. But I'm just saying that I am working way too hard at protecting myself from that kind of drama to allow for it to mess me up in the end. I would rather not have kids than risking this drama. So if that is a sacrifice that I'm making, I would hope that the guy who is out there waiting for me, waiting for his future wife, has values similar to mine. Like, hey, sweetie, I protected myself because I thought about this stuff. And I am so glad that I was able to meet you and you also had the same values that I had. Let's get together and start things. And I'll be like, let's see if this works. And then if it happens, it happens. That's what I'm saying. That a lot of people look back and they're like, shoot, I wish I would have thought about what I was doing better, but I allowed myself to be influenced. You know, I was able to not be that person, the person who succumbed to influences. So I want to see someone who can match me in that department. Wow, you can actually use the brain cells to think as opposed to being like, well, yeah, I made a mistake. Oh, boo hoo. No, think about shit. And that way you don't have to look back to the past and be like, I made a mistake. But when it comes to children, I don't think children are ever a mistake. But some people end up regretting their marriages because they spent so much money that they really didn't have, getting married, having a wedding, whatever. Little regrets like that. I'm like, no, I cannot feel sympathy for you because you knew what you were doing at the time. But if you do not have the ability to sit down and meditate about what the consequences of your present actions are going to be for the future, you are not compatible with me on a mental level. We do not need to be spending time together. Like, I'm not saying that I'm a genius, but I'm just saying that I can do some basic thinking. And that's the kind of basic thinking that I would like to see you are able to apply in your young years. See what I mean? So again, I'm not saying that I'm going to be immune to mistakes. Shoot, maybe within a year I'll be like, hey guys, I messed up and I'm pregnant. But come on. No. The only way I'll end up pregnant is if something horrible happens to me and that I had no way of defending myself. But you better believe that I am not trying to expand my family. No. No. But anyways, hopefully you guys are still following me with the stuff that I'm saying. I know it's sounding pretty harsh, but a sister had a lot of stuff to think about. I'm just jumping on board tonight. Hey there. Hey, Jimmy. I do not drink, smoke, or do drugs. It never interested me in the least. People have said I will regret not experimenting, but they are usually the ones with regrets. Yes! I'm so glad that I just got through mentioning the stuff that people regret. But yeah, I do not feel like I need to experience getting wasted. I simply do not have the taste for alcohol, and if I have not developed it by now, I simply will not. And I am glad that I don't, because I always tell myself I want to be 100% sharp if I have to drive. I don't want to be questioning myself, oh, I had too much to drink, but just because I had too much to drink doesn't mean that I have to get on an accident tonight. Nah, that doesn't happen to me. That happens to the neighbor. That happens to teenagers who drink before they're 21 and whatnot. And I'm like, no, no, let me not be that person. I am an adult. I have to be responsible. I have a job to show up to, occasionally deal with machinery. I do not need to be under the influence. And sometimes I need to drive. Emergencies happen. What if I have to hit the road in the middle of the night? I don't want to be like, well, no, I can't do that because I'm drunk. No. So anything that alters my chemistry, alters my control of my emotion, body, feelings, thoughts, I want nothing to do with that. Let's see, smoke or do drugs. Yeah, on the note of smoking, I cannot stand the stench, and I would not like to know that I am like grilling my lungs and damaging them, especially at such a young age. I do not need to sound like I am a man when I'm only 40 years old. And what I mean by that is that there's some women out there who mess with like roids, or they smoke too much and they sound like they are men. Honestly, I ain't trying to be a bully, or I'm not trying to be mean, but it is a fact that women are sensitive to those changes, and even simple hormone imbalances can change your pitch. That's not right. It's not the right thing for your body to be going through. Why would you alter your chemistry like that? Especially when you're only 40 years old. 40 years old, in my eyes, is not that old. Like, yeah, you're starting to like hit a certain threshold. Like 50s is definitely starting to get significantly of age. I want to say 45 is when I can look at someone and be like, damn, you're actually getting old. But 40, early 40s, I don't think that's that old. But but anyway, that's just my opinion. You guys let me know at what age you felt like you were old as hell. But for me, I started feeling like I was old as hell when I turned 20, 21 especially, because of that milestone of drinking. But other than that, the people who I know who are in their 40s, I'm like, y'all are just a bunch of kids with gray hair. Y'all don't know what you're doing. And they admit it. They say, I still think like I'm in my 30s. Shit, I still think like I'm in my late 20s. The only difference is I may have a couple extra dollars in the bank compared to when I was younger. But in some cases, some people are so fucked physically that they don't even have that much more money than when they were younger. Some people have made it work, especially if they were able to get married and have fulfilling relationships, but some people haven't because they have medical problems or they have too many kids, stuff like that. Let's see. Zamri people want to control you to do things you don't want to. Everything is free will, good or bad. Yes, loving yourself is so important that people cannot be brainwashing you. Thank you. Happy Sunday. Being submissive requires you to trust him, truly trust him, and that takes time for that trust to be established. Yes, and I guess this is not something that's limited exclusively to just me, but I have the toughest time trusting people. Like, the only time I sort of trusted someone who told me to trust them was my social studies teacher when I was in eighth grade. She said, now, I am telling you some of this stuff because this will be important for an assessment that you will have later on, but I will supply you with the information when it becomes relevant. You need to learn how to trust me. When she said that, I said, this is my teacher. She has my best interests in mind. She would not want to flunk me and whatever. So when she said, you need to learn how to trust me, she didn't say it directly to me. She just said it to someone who asked a question. Someone had concerns. And then she said that. And I was like, yeah, why the hell not? This lady, how would this lady who is in her 50s going to benefit from messing with someone who's, how old was I in eighth grade? 13 years old? Nah, this lady is not going to benefit in any kind of way. So, but outside of that, there's just no way that I can trust people like that. Trust is something that it is inherent if you are a colleague until I just know that I cannot trust you. If I know that you're someone who's not thorough, you don't pay attention to detail, you don't take your work seriously, your integrity is below the ground, then as a worker, I may not trust you. But outside of work, if we have a friendship, I give you the benefit of the doubt. Everyone, the first time you meet me, you are you have a clean slate. You decide what your relationship toward me it's going to be like. Is it going to be a friendly one? Is it going to be a hellish one? Is it going to be a respectful one? All of those things. But unfortunately, once you mess up, it's very difficult for me to repair my perception of you. But some things is just circumstantial. Some people are not very good at, say, meeting people for the first time. It, it's awkward. I don't want to penalize you for that, and I wouldn't want you to penalize me for that. But at the same time, there is some stuff that you just shouldn't mess up earlier on in a friendship. And one of those things is if I tell you something that's clearly relatively personal and you shouldn't be divulging, and you start divulging that, we're going to have problems. And then something else is coming up with false stories about me. Like, I'll never forget my coworker who made up that I was seeing another man. And I'm like, bitch, where do you get that from? The reason you're saying that is because you are miserable in your relationship, in your marriage, and you are seeing me in my relationship happy, and you just happen to see me grabbing lunch with a colleague because that's perfectly normal. People go have lunches, doesn't matter with whom it is, and then you try to come up with a story about me to try to damage my relationship. If there is someone out there who is trying to hurt my relationship, that person is not my fucking friend. And to this day, our relationship has not been repaired. There's no repairing that because you do not have integrity. You do not have honor. You do not have respect. Am I getting involved in your business? Am I getting involved in your marriage? No. Stay the fuck away from my relationship. So, this person has been trying so hard. This was years ago, like 2015ish or so. And to this day, that has not been repaired, and it will not be repaired because you are an old ass lady who should have known what you were getting yourself into. So when I know that people can do you like that, it's very hard for me to be like, yeah, sure, I'll blindly trust someone um from there on out. But fortunately, I'm not dating everybody ever, you know? So not everyone out there is trying to make a good impression in me to like potentially build a family together. That is the advantage. But the little things that have happened to me like that, that's what makes me say, remember, girl, that you cannot trust anybody or everybody or shit, don't trust no one. I think we should do like there is a judicial system in a country that's opposite to ours. I think it's Mexico. I think let's say that they detain people and they say they are guilty until proven innocent. That is how I am with trust. You are absolutely not trustworthy until you prove that you are trustworthy. I used to be the person who granted you trust without you really earning it. Like, I just gave everyone the opportunity of starting fresh, but I'm telling you, it is so difficult to find people with honor and integrity. But but anyway, that's beside the point. In a relationship, of course, the guy naturally will have the trust. If I go as far as dating you in any way, that means I'm confident and I see potential in you. I trust you. But after you mess up, that's it. There's just no turning back. And I would hope that you hold me to the same standard. But guess what? I am perfect. I never make any mistakes. So you don't have to worry about being like, oh, I cannot trust them for anything. Nah, I'm just playing. But yeah, seriously, I just do not have the time to bring drama into my life. I have no interest in in like fooling around like that, you know, because I'm just old. You know, you get to a certain age when you are looking for peace, and if you cannot correspond to me, then we don't need to be friends. We don't need to be going out and stuff, you know. That's just me trying to live a simple life in a world that definitely tries to make it complicated. Among other things, you have to trust that he's looking out for what's good for you, not just what he wants from you. Exactly. Zemri is missing a blessing. You're amazing and different. Zemri, you're a beautiful and free spirit. Always be you and never become jaded. It is a wonderful way to be. Yes. I think in a relationship there should be no domination, rather tenderness, loving, and completing one another. Yes. That sounds like the absolute way to a peaceful relationship. And that's really what I'm looking for. When it comes to dominance, I guess occasionally a little bit of it can be a good thing. It's like, wow, I am able to drop my guard with this person, let them take over, and I know that at the end of the day, everything is going to be fine. I will still have my shelter. My feelings are going to be protected. I'm going to be respected even if I let this person have some dominance. That's what makes it beautiful. But again, you're taking such a massive risk that if it's not done well, if it ends up being a mistake, then I think that's what breeds resentment in a lot of people. It's like you trusted this person with so much and they decided to not respect that, and there's just no way that you don't breed resentment from that, even if it's a little bit. You can be as peaceful of a human as possible, but once someone messes you up like that, you just feel this contempt toward everyone, especially the person involved, the perpetrator. But but yeah, dominance is not something that I can really roll with. But if I ever find a relationship in which I ever feel confident enough to allow such a thing, then all right, good for me. But I'm just saying that I completely agree with that statement. Why would you not want to be tender, loving, caring, sweet? But then again, people are different. We have to understand that there's people out there who really enjoy that, those things, being dominated or being the dominant one, or you have like this craving for power and you like for it to be expressed in your relationship as well. I cannot say that's me, but I can say that I understand why someone would have that feeling, because I'll admit it, sometimes in relationships I have done that, to where I want to try to I want to try to test the guy to see how far he would be willing to go for me. Like let's say if I say something like, "Oh my god, I saw these cute pair of leggings that are like $40 and I know that you are on the last $50 for your week. Would you be willing to give me those 40 and you survive off $10?" Like, I don't need for the guy to actually do that, but the sole fact that he would be willing to sacrifice himself like that, it means a lot to me, because I have been that person. I have been the person who I only have $15 to survive for like 5 days, and I still share it with my partner for their betterment. And I do not need to reproach them about it later. I don't need to be like, well, I sacrificed myself for you one time, so therefore you have to sacrifice yourself for me. I'm never like that. Something about being reproached or reproaching someone is something that infuriates me. And I have been a victim of that as well. I'm thinking, look at this person. I am so blessed that I have such a kind, loving, sweet person who loves to share and is there for me, etc., etc. And then they're upset about something completely unrelated to the matter. And then they go, well, I have done so much more for you, and I have spent so much more on you than you have ever spent on me. And I'm like, bitch, you mean to tell me that everything you do for me, you do it out of interest? Like, trying to get recognition or credit for it? I thought you were doing it because that's what you do. You're just kind and loving. But if you're going to do that to have a good deed in your agenda to then reproach me about later, you are trash. Get away from me, you demon. You know? That's what I want to tell people, because that is the person trying to manipulate you. And again, I used to be in the receiving end of that. I was a victim of that, and I had no earthly idea, because I was blinded by the fact that, oh yeah, I'm in a relationship with someone who loves me. Someone who loves me would never do that to me. They would never hurt me. They will always have me, um, my best interests in mind, yada yada. But no, there are people out there who are demons, and they may be living under your roof and you don't know it. Or you may be having dinner with them and you don't know it. And I think that is the thing that terrified me the most. That I thought that that would never happen to me, but it did. And when it happens to you, and especially when you cannot make the person see why what they're doing is wrong, when they're in denial, that's what makes it toughest. because you never think that you will end up associating yourself with someone like that. And I think that is what kept me frightened the most, especially when you feel like you're alone and you don't know whom to recur to. Sure, I have my mother and I trust her all that I want and I feel like I can tell her everything, but there are some things that I feel like it's best if you process them independently. But but the things that you can share, just share them. But for me, there were some things that I felt I could never share with anybody. But anyway, I'm just glad that that's something in my life that I'm pretty sure I'll never have to worry again about. Um, where am I at? Zemri, you are a queen. That is all I can see. Oh, I need to find me a crown. Hey, Red Miko. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a bit. Hopefully, you're still around. Zamri, most people scared of real love turn down the blessings from Jesus because most people are bitter, cannot move on, or like to complain about relationships. And Zamri, you will be blessed soon. I hope so. Sometimes I want to be that person who's like, oh my God, I want to be living a dream relationship, right? But I'm like, I would rather have a relationship and not a relationship. So let me just take it easy, take my time, and not. We live in a society that really, I guess, romanticizes everything and blows it out of proportion, that it's very easy to not be influenced by that. And I mean, I'm not saying that it's limited to just our culture. It's just that the portrayal of some things, it's exaggerated. And I think those exaggerations and the way that it alters people's perceptions are the problem. But deep down, humans naturally want to be like that. Like I expect that if you find someone you're attracted to and you build a family with them, that they are going to be your top priority, right? But if you're in a culture that glorifies acts like that, whether you are, I don't want to say restricted because it sounds like a bad thing, but committed to a family of your own already, then maybe that's what people struggle with. You want to be so many things involved in so many different people's lives and you're not finding the balance. And I think that's why monogamy to me is the best practice. It may not be for everybody, but I think that you need to have discipline. And I find that in modern days, that discipline seems to be on the decline. I don't want to be that person. I told this to my ex girlfriend, whose father essentially was absent from her life. It's not your fault that he wasn't there, not at all. Yes, and as simple and obvious and basic as that is, when you are growing up and you're hurt about your circumstances, you cannot rationalize that. And for the longest time, I used to think that I was responsible for the problems that my parents had, even though I had nothing to do. Like, their problems were there long before I was materialized. But, you just cannot help it. When you do not have a lot of emotional support, it's very easy to fall victim to that. Especially when you see your the person who shared his DNA with your mother to make you possible, right? Um, when they're not there supporting you, it is so easy to be like, this person isn't there for me. They don't like me because there's something wrong with me. No. I just wish I could go back and tell 5, 6, 7 year old me, well, child me, just take it easy, girl. It's not your fault. Everything will be all right. It is possible to make it. Focus on the fact that had this person been present in your life, you would have been messed up. I am pretty sure that all of my aspirations would have been, what is it, degraded, belittled, turned down, spat on, scorned, discouraged, I don't need someone like that. I don't need an influence like that. If I woke up one day and I decided that I wanted to bake for a living, then I should be supported 100%. But this would have been someone who cares too much about your social status. And when you're a developing mind, that's not healthy. What's healthy is for you to instill into a person that dreams can get wild, not to the point that they're not achievable, but that it's okay to dream. And I know that politically, that is not always necessarily true. Like, if I want to be the next, let's say, the next beauty guru, that is not something that I should strive for because, competition is fierce. It's not likely that I'm going to make it, yada, yada. But but at the same time, if I dream of becoming a pro makeup artist or something, just fucking support me. All that a girl wants to hear is that she is loved and supported for her decisions. If I decide that I want to be the next president, why not? Do not tell me that it's not possible. Just tell me, you know, that's going to be a very difficult quest. You're going to need connections. You're going to need an education. You're going to need resources, this and that. You will need to be of age, first of all. But why not? Go on. Try. Go for it. Why not? But when you shoot someone down immediately, like, what are you doing dreaming about becoming president? You know that's not possible. Don't be that person. You're not helping. Even if you think that you're helping by being realistic, you're doing more harm than good because you're teaching someone that their ideas are stupid and that they cannot think for themselves, and therefore they constantly need to have interjection. No, no. People can dream independently, and let them come to that realization independently. Hey, maybe going for president is not such a bright idea. They will come to their senses. They just do not need your condescending treatment. And that is exactly what I would have received a lot because my family was pretty condescending when I was growing up. And that's part of the reasons why, to this day, I have never gone back to them. And I highly doubt that, especially as happy as I am with myself and the way that my life is changing, then no, I don't have room for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Um, Therefore, that relationship wasn't a failure. It was completely out of your control, so you didn't fail at all. I just feel like calling it that. I feel like saying, yeah, my daddy failed me, so therefore it was my first failed relationship. You just cannot help it, because again, that's what you have known your entire life, that it was something that didn't pan out, didn't work out, something you've never had. Had my daddy died, then okay, that is completely different. That means that this man is absent. But when he's alive and well, and he has never made an effort to be there for me, you cannot help but feel like it's your fault, like this person considers that you're not worthy of their time. But at the same time, I'm thinking, well, I will dedicate to those who really, to whom I matter to. Those are the people I need to be worried about. But, somebody else's, forget you. It doesn't matter what your title is. Um, it didn't go the way you wanted it to, but it was not your fault and you did not fail. I just want you to hear that, Sam, because it's true. I appreciate that, Jim. You are another level of awesome. Or dating with kids, the boyfriends or girlfriends be mad when you don't let kids run over you. Yes, like don't even get me started on the parents who do not, the parents who are like, let's say that my boyfriend has a child. You are not the mommy, so therefore you have absolutely no jurisdiction. Uh, I am not the mommy, but you're bringing them to my motherfucking house. I do have authority over your child under this roof. Now, if you want to be a complete wild person about it, go outside and take your stuff, but stay away from my house. Because I hate that sometimes. It's like you're not allowed to be involved in that parenting aspect, but at the same time, it's your responsibility. Because if I'm by myself with this child in my house, yes, I do have authority over this, etc. Because let's face it, you are not my responsibility, especially if I'm not married to your parent, to your father or something. You know, for all I care, you are a stranger coming into my house that I'm being kind to, especially if you're a minor. But but yeah, that is insane to me. If I am doing something to someone else's child and it is in the name of their discipline and well-being, don't you fucking dare tell me that I cannot be doing that, especially under this roof that I work so fucking hard to maintain. So that is another reason why I want to spare myself from the drama of someone who already has kids and I don't have kids. Like, oh, don't you tell me that. Don't you tell me that. Um Oh yeah, let me finish your comment. Kids run over you. That's another problem too. Cannot tell the kids no or checking on them what they do wrong. Another thing is I feel like kids allow for their kids or sorry, parents allow for their kids to govern them. It's like if the child starts screaming for something, you feel obliged to say, if the child is screaming that they want ice cream, you have to buy them the ice cream because otherwise you're not disciplining them that they can't be doing that. You cannot be causing a scene, stomping your feet, and being loud because you're craving something and your parent has to give it to you. No, we ain't gonna do jack shit for you, especially feed you unhealthy shit. But I would like to see parents who are more involved in the discipline of their children because I see this so often, which is those tantrums that kids be throwing in public. And I'm like, when I was growing up, that was unheard of. There was no way that I could get away causing a scene like that. I would have my teeth knocked out, you know? So I want to see more of firm leadership hands disciplining children because I feel like the children are the new parents now. And I'm thinking, no, just because you are an exhausted adult and you want the easiest way out and you think that the solution is to give in to the child's demand just so that they shut up faster, you are raising this kid to be spoiled and entitled and whatnot, and they're going to grow up to be that fucking person who comes to customer service and we all hate them because they feel like they're entitled to everything because when they were growing up they never heard the word no. Not today. Not possible. Not enough money. Can't get it. Now is not the time. You know, it's okay to be negated from something, to be told no. No. Saying no can be such a healthy thing. But I find that a lot of parents just in the name of resolving what appears to be an issue or something that a little kid is escalating, you decide to just give in to their demands. No, don't do that. You need to be okay not having stuff your way, or you're going to grow up to be that customer who, if you do not buy your favorite brand of chocolate milk, you simply cannot settle for something else. Learn to experiment, you know. Oh, you don't have my favorite coffee today? Oh, I can't buy it. I can't try something else. No, like, no, no, I cannot feel bad for you. Um, When I turn 70, I believe I'm old gray hair with locks and blessed to see 70. I have learned the hard way not everyone has my best interest at heart. I have also had to learn and be honest what my true motivations are. I learned that from lots of therapy. You don't do things to keep score exactly. I have been involved in situations where people were really keeping close tabs about everything, and I'm like, how can you live with yourself like that? You know how much stuff I give and I never even think about it? Like, oh yeah, I remember a time when I helped this person, but I'm not thinking about how they're going to pay me back. No, I give something, I gave it and I gave it, and it remains given. It's not, this, I'm not a bank. I don't have an interest rate on you. Like, there is absolutely no business attached to anything that I do to you. Sometimes, though, when someone helps me, I do feel inclined to think that way. Like, son, I don't know how I'm going to pay you back, but I will get back to you. Or, I'm so sorry you got me a little birthday gift or something and I have not gotten you anything. I promise you that at some point I'll get back to you. In reality, there's no obligation for that. This person gave me something on my day because it just, that's what was born within them on that day. It came from their heart, whatever. But it's just nice to provide that feeling to the person who inflicted that feeling on you. Like, if you did something nice for me on my birthday, then I want to think that I can do something nice for you on your birthday. But that is absolutely not something obligatory, because if I have to decide between your gift and me eating, you better believe that I'm fucking eating before I give you a gift, you know? But fortunately, I'm not in situations like that with frequency, but I'm just saying that it's not always possible to reciprocate some things. And that is okay. That is absolutely fine. It's like church. Sometimes, um, when you have to give your, what is it called? An offering to the priest or whatever, they're like, please not place fewer than $20 or something. I'm like, no, you don't know what my finances are like. If I can give something, I will give you something. But but no, I guess I'm going to hell, but no, I cannot give you the $20 you're asking for. you know? No relationships will ever be perfect, but being there for each other in sunny days and rainy days will have love last forever and impressing each other. Yes, honestly, when it comes to relationships, that's all I'm looking for. Someone who just rides with me. Like, hey, I'm having a bad day. This is why. Uh, Allow me to just rest my head on your shoulder. Or other days, it's, hey, check out my triumphs and fucking celebrate me. You don't need to like put me on a pedestal and worship me like I am a goddess, but just be there for me. It is so easy. So easy. But yet, people tend to complicate it. And I think that's the part that sometimes frustrates me the most, and I just want to like hide under a rock. But then that's when I tell myself, be patient. This person has probably never had a good example either. This is my opportunity to shine and tell them why I am the fucking best thing in their life right now. you know? Nah, of course, I'm never full of myself like that. That's just me over here being dramatic. But yeah, just don't give up on someone. Just be there for that person. If you believe in this person so much and you really feel like you love them, that is the best act of love right there. Even if the person does not acknowledge at the time that what you do for them is amazing and that you being there means everything to them, at some point this person comes back to their senses. For me, I have had instances in which I focus on my issues so much. Like, say, if I have a particularly shitty week at work, that's all I dwell on. And then I kind of take you for granted. But once I recover from my week, I'm like, you know what? I am so sorry. I was such an asshole to you. I do not deserve you at all. But thank you so much for being there for me and not giving up. And especially being there for me when I need you the most. Because I feel like people tend to bail when you need them the most. And that brews so much resentment. But fortunately, that is not something that I really go through very often. But for the people who do go through that and that's how you end up processing it, I cannot blame you. Can't blame you. Because I probably would fall victim to my emotions at that moment in time. But fortunately, I am someone who takes great pride in being fair. And even if it takes me a week, I will be the first to admit that I did something wrong. And if I suspect that I was in the wrong, I will come find you and we're going to have this discussion. And I will let you know why I initially reacted in the manner that I did, how I intend to remedy it, but also what you could have personally have done to rescue me at that moment in time. Because let's face it, sometimes as a human, you just have irrational moments. It happens to everybody. But just bear that in mind. If I'll be the first person to admit that I messed up, and I do that a lot. It's like, hey, I am so sorry. Lately, I have just been doing nothing but asking you to do things for me. Thank you so much for not declining when I need to. Or feel free to say no. I appreciate that you're not saying no, but I just want you to know that I'm not taking you for granted. I said that pretty recently. Like when I was sick to hell and I could not function 2 weekends ago, I was like, hey man, I am so glad that you're here. Thanks for everything that you do. I probably don't even deserve it, but I just cannot function. When I am sick, I tend to be the nicest person ever, even sweeter than I am regularly characterized by, because I am already going through something so miserable that I do not wish to make the other person closely experience, or rather, experience something that closely resembles what I'm going through. Like, nah, let me bear this weight alone and spare you from it because it is miserable. you know? To me, that is a pretty senseless act. Like, hey, just because I feel miserable doesn't mean that I am going to be an asshole and justify it. Not at all. That's when I take great pride in strengthening my mind as much as possible when my body is falling apart, and then be like, hey, just so you know, just because I'm failing in my physical department does not mean that you're condemned to my wrath as well, emotional. I just hate not having control over my emotions. Emotions are so easy if you let them be. But of course, that takes a lot of spending time by yourself, thinking, being honest with yourself, establishing that, defining your personality, admitting your stuff. Just spend time with yourself, but quality time with yourself in the same manner that you need to spend quality time with your family, boyfriend, kids, girlfriend, whatever you have, you know? Anyway, if it was possible to hear both parties, dad and mom, with neutral ear and eye, probably the other party wasn't wrong after all. Maybe they were hindered to be in the child life. I always leave room for criticism. Absolutely. Absolutely. I always allow for people to tell me their side of the story. Always. And everyone in my life, past and present, who is in a situation like that, the floor is always open. You can come talk to me and tell me, hey, this is what happened. But whatever you do, don't you dare lie, because I am so good about uncovering lies, especially quickly. And there's no reason to lie to me. No matter what happened, no matter what your thoughts were, what fueled you, just be sincere about it. I am such a forgiving person because I just do not have time to have resentment in my heart. I just don't. but but yeah, what can I say? When it comes to parental matters, unfortunately, those are going to be among the most biased ones and the most difficult ones to corroborate, only because when you hit a certain age, it's been so long since your parents have been split that sometimes when you're a kid, the original story that you hear may be wrong because at the time your parents are recently, let's say the wounds are fresh and they are still processing some stuff. Whereas once you get old, all you want is to rest, be at ease, peace, and whatnot. So, like, these people ain't trying to stir some drama, you know? And I think that's why I am a strong believer that time is the best healer of all those kinds of wounds. And I think that if I were to sit down with my father and have a conversation about the stuff that happened in the past, I may possibly adore this man, especially whatever wisdom he might have acquired in over the years, you know? But but at the same time, yeah, unfortunately, I'm at a station in my life in which I'm not really doing much of the reaching out. You will need to come to me, but but what can I say? I don't hate anybody. I don't have resentment, and I definitely have reasons uh to be having those kinds of feelings, but it is so unhealthy. And I just do not want to go back to a time in my life in which I was processing a lot of negativity. And that's most definitely one of the first ways to go about it. Like, oh yeah, let me remember the story about my past. All the stuff that I missed out on. Just no. I don't need to feel like I missed out on stuff. I just grow from that. Just grow from that. Well, you guys, it's been a pleasure, but your girl should definitely consider getting some sleep. And yeah, this was a pretty interesting topic. I know it started on a completely unrelated note, but I am so glad that this got on a more personal note. Like, I was exploring some things that I don't really usually feel willing to discuss. But yeah, this was a pretty nice experience. This reminds me why I love to journal, and I guess now replace my journal with streaming, making videos, because now I'm pretty sure that the stuff that I discussed tonight, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, I may be like, oh, hell no, I cannot believe I said such a thing. But it is also very possible that the way that I am today is going to stick to me for forever or for much longer than that. But yeah, I'm just glad to be living the privilege in which I can look back and have fresh, active memories. What I say here is exactly how it goes on the record, and I don't have to be like, I'm not sure how I felt about this in 2020. Like, no, it is right here to stay permanently forever. So, I don't know. I find great pleasure in telling stories and also exploring the past, no matter how distant or how recent. Have a blessed night, wonderful friend. I love this video. I love it too. Alright, guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you soon. Let's get some sleep.